As a graduate of the class of 1986, it's my honor to introduce a member of the class of 1955 as the 2016 Distinguished Alumni Award recipient. You know, as somebody's child, you tend to know that person in a different manner and see them in other ways than other people do. So when I started thinking about what made my father distinguished to me, it didn't have anything to do with his career. What immediately came to mind is a sense of community and giving back that he and my mother instilled in me and my sister. Hope. As long as I can remember, my father's always been involved in his community in some way, whether it was membership in some organization, sitting on a nonprofit board, or simply making monetary donations. Those who know them know he and my mother have always been pretty much soft touches. Since our childhood, he's emphasized to his children that as part of a community, we owe as much to it as it does to us. Those of us who are fortunate enough to have attended the academy and reaped the numerous benefits, both academic and otherwise, of being part of the academy family are especially obligated to give back to our communities in some manner. The particulars of how you give back don't matter as much as your sense of duty to do so. And despite his being honored today, you don't do it for recognition or reward. You do it because that's how you pay the world back for the good fortune that you have had. In Judaism, there's a concept called tikkun olam, which roughly translates into an aspiration to behave and act constructively and beneficially towards the world. In today's world, I really can't think of anything more distinguishing than that. Now, that being said, it is, of course, wonderful and makes my family and I very proud that other people do appreciate Herb's involvement in the many communities in which he's been a part of over the years, and that the Academy has decided to honor him today for that. It's my pleasure to turn over the podium to my father, Herbert Wolman.
Thank you, Jonathan, for that nice introduction. It was indeed a pleasure to be introduced by you, which I thank you for your kind words, and also for the restraint you showed in not dwelling on all the things you do know about me. Brian, faculty and administration members past and present, fellow alumni, members of the senior class. It was with reluctance, with a feeling of great honor and humility, that I accepted the designation as this year's distinguished alumnus. If one looks up the meaning of the word alumnus, and to this day I stop and look up the words, the meaning of which I am not certain about, and some of which I even am, a habit I developed many years ago at this school. Well, when I Googled alumnus, one of the definitions was that it refers to a former student. And I can say with certainty that while I had attended several schools, it was at Academy that I became a student. I learned not only how to study, but the reward and satisfaction of learning. I learned early on, just a few weeks after I arrived at the school, that the school motto, in quest of the best, was and is not an elitist adjective label of the superlative with the hyperbole that we were constantly exposed to during the recent election campaign, but rather a descriptor of the process and aim of the school for its students, its faculty, and the school itself. A few years ago, I had the pleasure of addressing this about-to-be alumni of the senior class. And I mentioned then, as I restate now, that this school is, just as we as individuals are, not perfect. Over the years, there are many people and things that I cherish, as well as some procedures and individuals that I feel fail to meeting Academy's professed standard. But procedures have changed, people are long gone, and for the school was and is ever improving and continues to do so, true to its motto, in quest of the best. I joined Academy, the class of 1955, a little over 63 years ago. in the autumn of my junior year, and just a few months after my 15th birthday. I had previously attended Bexley High School, where I was with little effort obtaining good grades by that school's standards, and I still have many friends from there. At Academy, I was, by age in my class, the youngest, and perhaps also by maturity. I knew only a handful of the students in the entire school whose total enrollment at that time was about equal to the entire size of my class at my previous school. I was in height, but not weight, smaller than I am now in many of my class, and much in the 2 years I experienced at Academy, I had a physical growth spurt, but it was far eclipsed by the growth of my education. I learned at Academy to be a critical reader and thinker. Throughout my adult life, I regretted some things that I have done, but one of the things I regret the most is something that I didn't do, and that was to come to Academy many years earlier. My previous school was pretty much composed of students who resided in a single zip code, and like Academy at that time, it was absent persons of color, although it was co-ed. At Academy, we had diversity by class members from various parts of Central Ohio, and some from nearby rural communities. I joined a class that had about 25 students, and I can say with honesty, there was not one person in that class who I did not like. I was made to feel welcome by my classmates, and though there was kidding and ribbing, it was free of malice. I left a school where the administrators were consumed with administrating and maintaining decorum, and I entered and was welcomed into a rare environment with teachers and administrators caring and concerned about the students individually. I have had the opportunity to witness the changes at our school from different perspectives. As a student in the 50s, as a parent in the 70s and 80s, and for several years, a few years ago, as a member of the Alumni Board. The growth of the Academy over the period that I have observed has taken many forms, from an enrollment of a few hundred and now over 1,000. When I arrived, the facilities were small, a converted house with a more modern addition and gymnasium set on a few acres, and now the school has state-of-the-art facilities on hundreds of acres. Tuition has also grown from a few $100s, and it's now more than 25 times that. Most important, the experience of being a student has been expanded and enriched by a student body that is now composed of students of multiple genders, races, ethnicities, and sexual orientations. Well, there have been many changes I have outlined. I can, with great confidence, tell you that although over the years the physical aspects and the messengers have changed, there is never a change in the message. The quest for the best for all. I will always remember from my Academy days the names of Bound, Dennett, Whiting, Goodwin, Evans, and others, and I observed a continuation of those same qualities of a caring and concerned faculty administration when my son attended Academy, exhibited by individuals with the names of Morin, Moody, Kirk, Golding, David, Michael, Block, and others. And most recently, at the school by people like Cynthia Wilson, who is so deservedly being honored here today. I had many fine faculty members in college, but I rarely think of them, and I can't even remember many of their names. But as often that I think of the people who taught me and cared about me when I was at Academy. Over the past years, Our class, with a few exceptions, has for the most part stayed in contact with the glue provided by our class agent, Sheldon Taft, who should be a role model for the many class agents among all of you. By his efforts, and because of our common experience, for significant reunions, 60% or more of our class has come back to be together. Those of us who reside in Columbus would at least annually meet for lunch, and the bonds of our friendships have endured the test of time. In concert with the values I learned from my parents and other family, the support and love I received from my wife and children, the teaching and tenets of my Jewish faith, my academy education has been a significant factor in my entire adult life. Although I have been privileged to be designated the Distinguished Alumnus for this year, I believe that all of us who have attended Academy are forever distinguished by what we learned here when we were here. My feelings for our school have, and I believe all of yours have or will, only increase as the years go by. There is another Central Ohio educational institution that has a familiar alma mater with a poem set to the tune of an old Spanish chant, one of whose first verse is oft recited by many of us and many thousands of others on Saturday afternoons in a stadium just a few miles north of here. My feelings, and I hope yours, for the school that has distinguished all of us is perhaps best summed up by a rephrasing of a part of the lesser known and seldom recited second verse of that poem. Our school days of priceless worth, among our grandest days on earth, soon will pass, and then we'll see our great love for our Academy. Thank you.